So I think we'll just jump right in. Can you move to the next slide? So just some quick intros with the current team. We're going to talk about a little bit about what we do right now, our approach, look at a recent survey we did with our users, some improvements that we think we should make coming out of that survey, some user interviews we recently did, and some results from that, and then going forward, how some things will work in the DAO. And then Beard is going to give us a tour of the new web app he's been working on. Some of you may have already seen a sneak peek of this. And then Hoff is going to give us a tour of the Shapeshift branding and guidelines. And then hopefully we'll have some time for Q&A at the end. Go ahead and move forward. Thanks. So what the design and UX team does at Shapeshift right now is we design the end-to-end the products of Shapeshift. So this includes everything from UX research to usability testing to finished designs and front end. We set and monitor KPIs. We build and maintain the design system, and we create and maintain brand standards. We also, with Hoff's talent, do all of the illustrations for Shapeshift and assist with a lot of the design needs for marketing. So next slide. So right now, we are the three amigos. There's just three of us. My name is Bethany. I'm the manager of UX and UI. And then Beard and Hoff, if you guys want to introduce yourselves.
Hey, I'm Beard. I'm the senior UI UX developer. I've talked to you guys before. Howdy.
Howdy. Yeah, I'm here. I'm Hoff. My last name's Hoffman, so that's where that comes from. Product designer and illustrator. So I work a little bit of everything. Thanks.
Thanks. Go ahead to the next slide. Thanks, Beard. So our approach to new features, we currently have a process that we go through for this. The first stage that we go through is empathy and research. So the goal of this stage is to gain an empathetic understanding of the problem we're trying to solve. Beard, can you go ahead and press return or straightforward or whatever? Okay. So some of the things that we do in this stage are we assume a user's mindset, we ask the what, the how, and the why. We do interviews or gather feedback from our users. A lot of times during this step, we look at competitive analysis, see who else is doing this, and identify where their weaknesses and their strengths are. And then we start to do some like high-level journey mapping of how this could potentially look for Shapeshift. The second stage that we go through is called define. And this is where we work a lot with the product team and the product owners to clearly identify the problem we're trying to solve and making sure that we feel that this feature will bring added value to the user experience. And then we go into the ideate, prototype, and testing phase. This phase is very circular because we go through a lot of iterations, typically just because a lot of things in crypto, as you guys all probably know, are not very straightforward. And during this stage, we go through a lot of brainstorming and sketching, and then we move into some early design ideas. We prototype test with our users, and then we tend to test and retest and re-ideate. And then once we get it to a good point, we implement, we build it. So all the information and data that we've collected supports the solution that we're thinking to build. Can you move into the next slide? So some of the questions we ask ourselves while we're going through this process are listed here. We want to make sure that users can easily find what they should and are expected to do next. Is it clearly evident to them where they are in the experience? Does the task require minimal effort to learn? I'm sure you guys know in crypto, this can be a very challenging one. Does the user have a clear path if something goes wrong? And does the design of the feature make actions and options easily visible? And does the layout and hierarchy feel familiar and follow our other features and products? Layout and hierarchy for us has actually become pretty straightforward because we have implemented a design system. And then before handoff, we just ask a few more questions. And by the way, this is just a subset of the questions. We actually have a lot more questions that we go through. But basically, we want to make sure we succeed or believe we succeed at removing unnecessary friction, identify potential sad paths and their solutions. So if ever there's an error, that the user has the information that they need to move forward. And then edge cases, copywriting usually is reviewed with marketing. And then currently on centralized Shapeshift, we usually clear the writing with legal. I'm not entirely certain how this is going to work going forward. So that's something we need to figure out. Can you jump into the next slide? Cool. So we recently did a survey and I wanted to share some results with this. So we have over 150,000 monthly active users on Shapeshift. Actually, this number is higher now, I believe. I think it's closer to like 180. But we asked the users how they would feel if they could no longer use Shapeshift. So we have about 40% very disappointed, which is good. But we have 40% somewhat disappointed and about 20% not disappointed. So those are potential users we could lose if we don't improve the experience for them, or if we can't figure out what it is that they need in order to be extremely happy with Shapeshift. So we asked them and they told us what we can fix to get a better score. Can you move on to the next slide? So what can we fix to get a better score? So we got a lot of responses, but we definitely saw themes, and these are the themes. The biggest themes are lower fees, fiat to crypto issues, and performance issues. Can you move into the next slide? So what are we doing about this? So I want to just point out that this is what we've started doing in centralized Shapeshift, and then we need to continue to improve, of course, in the DAO. So one of the things that we looked at was the fiat to crypto issues. You can see here the amount of users who successfully purchased versus who attempted to purchase is a big gap. There were a lot of problems we've had with Banksa over the past few months. And this is from the beginning of the year. So we're right now actually adding another provider called Gem. This should go up very soon. And we're hoping that this will help alleviate some of these fiat to crypto issues we've seen with Banksa. And this also gives Shapeshift crypto to fiat path, which is something that the users were requesting. Go ahead.
Чего у него нету, блин? Или не бомж рассказывает?
Oh, can you please mute?
Чуть ли не бомж, говорю, рассказывает.
Can mute them.
Thank you. So this is just the first step in tackling the fiat to crypto issue. So once we launch Gem, we'll still continue to monitor that data and see where we can continue to improve the experience.
Больше ничего. Я только за день узнавал у него и все.
I'll wait till Willie mutes.
Oh, sorry, I just muted them for myself. Now they're server muted.
Thanks. Performance issues. So this, by improving some of the performance, this will also help to improve some of the UX UI issues. So right now, as you guys know, we are building a new web app. And with this new web app, this will improve some of the main UX UI, and we'll have a light mode option, which is something people complain about. This will also make considerable improvements on our state management to reduce needless re-renders, which is causing some sluggishness on the current platform. And this will use several different data sources versus relying on a single source of truth. This allows us to load data in an async way. So this is some of the first steps we're taking to help improve some of the performance. Gas fees was another big complaint. Box Fuel is something that you guys probably are aware of that we already launched. And I think we should start to consider other ideas like layer 2 solutions. But going forward, this will all be part of what we do with the DAO. And then account issues. We do have a lot of users, especially on the native wallet, that as much as we've done our best to inform them that their password is essentially like a key to a vault and that they're the only one in the world with access to that password, we still have people that forget their passwords. And so going forward, we're considering some ideas around removing auth from the native wallet. And then other improvements, bring your ideas forward. We're really excited to get additional resources and build awesome things in the DAO and continue to drive the user experience of Shapeshift forward. Okay, so we also did some user interviews. The goal of this was to understand users' crypto goals and how they feel about potential earned DeFi opportunities on Shapeshift, like providing liquidity, staking, and other ways to earn interest. So we got a bunch of results from them. They liked the idea. They have ideas for also what they would like in this new earn section. And we also found out that a lot of our users are already using MetaMask, and they want staking and they want more coins. All of our users that we talk to, every single one of them is staking, but they're not doing it on Shapeshift because, well, we don't have staking right now. Well, I guess now we have farming for Fox, but when we ran this interview, we didn't have any staking at all. Okay, can you move into the next screen? So what did we learn? They are excited about new earn features, but they have a lot of questions and a lot of wants. They're already staking elsewhere for now. Continue forward. They use MetaMask, so let's get some more wallet supported. This is already underway. And then the users are hodlers. Many of them have a portion of their portfolios that they trade. Many don't trade with Shapeshift though right now due to high gas fees and no additional features like limit orders. So some things that we can continue to consider going forward. And then a bonus insight, and we did these interviews a few weeks ago, so they didn't really know everything that Fox is for, but we've already started taking steps to address this. We have the new Fox token section on the mobile app and in the platform that really outlines all the benefits of the Fox token, which we didn't previously have. Moving it forward, thanks. Cool, so we wanna fix the pain points. We wanna get more parity between web and mobile, speed up and get new features implemented to bring more value to our users. This is something I think as the product team, we're super excited about with the DAO, having more engineering resources so that we can move at a faster pace. As you guys all know, crypto moves very, very quickly. And to get ahead, we really need to speed up. And then we want to continue to drive the user experience forward and not settle for MVP. So one of the things that's happened in centralized Shapeshift, which was sometimes disappointing for us on the design team and on the product team, is sometimes to hit a deadline or to ship a product, we would have to kind of remove some scope and settle for MVP. We would really love to get to a place in the DAO when we have enough resources where we can really not have to settle for MVP when we launch a feature, but we can do an MLP, which is a minimum lovable product. And I think this will really help move the user experience needle forward. And then one of our goals is to really hone in on who our target user is now. We're kind of starting to see ourselves as being that position for the newbie to DeFi, who's somebody whose needs go beyond Coinbase, that's looking for more coins, more DeFi options. But when they go to something like Zapper or some of these other DeFi platforms that are more advanced, it's confusing for them. It kind of makes their head spin. So and this is something too we can continue to have conversations around and figure out, because historically Shapeshift has kind of moved all over the map with our target user, but I feel like we're starting to really hone in on this market, which is that intermediate user that's between the Coinbase and the Zapper, and really give access to those users to something that previously would have been very confusing for them. Okay, can you go to the next slide? So some of the tools that we use right now, Sketch, Envision, Figma. For usability testing, we use Helio app and Userlytics right now, but those might change. And then one of the tools we're looking at, and I will be putting a proposal forward in the coming weeks for Pendo. And this is a tool that will really help us. Beard, can you hit spacebar return? So Pendo is a tool. It works both. It'll work on the mobile application and the web application. And this will help us with feature walkthroughs, tooltips, on-site surveys. This will help us really get some segmentation going and being able to target our messaging for users. And then this will really help us with our funnel tracking. So we're looking at this, whereas historically we've had a bunch of different tools. We're looking at Pendo to kind of be like this all-in-one tool that will really help us with the user experience and the user journey on Shapeshift, and give us a lot of that data that we're going to be looking for going forward. So I just wanted to touch again on the design approaches in the DAO for anybody who may have missed the product workstream call. So the design and UX is going to be in the product workstream going forward. The workstream itself will have a primary project roadmap. And then we'll have like ongoing projects like .com maintenance, which used to live under marketing. I know some of you have seen that the .com website is kind of outdated. So our goal is to move that into product and to update that and continue to maintain that going forward. So in addition to the roadmap for the product workstream, we're going to have standalone projects, of course, approved by the community. For an example, Osmosis was approved and it's a standalone project by the community already. So our goal in the workstream will be to help empower the success of these products and of these projects in any way we can. We can assist with designs and or to help source external designers. We'll make sure that designs are on brand and that the designers that are external have what they need from us, and that the designs pass usability before they move into development. And yeah, we can also assist with front end work depending on our availability. Cool, so I just ran through a lot. There's a POAP QR code there. I'm sorry, it's going off the screen. We can scale that down. I know probably people have a lot of questions. I was hoping to kind of wait until Beard and Hoff are done presenting as well, and then we can have a QA session at the end. So Beard, do you want to go ahead and take it away with the new web app that you're working on?
Yeah, sure.
Thanks.
Okie dokie. So I don't know if most of you have probably seen the current platform, which is beta.shapeshift.com, which is a fully, centralized front end for our back end, which has served us pretty well so far. But since we are going to the decentralized future, we needed to basically completely rebuild this with the decentralized stuff in mind. So we thought this would be a good opportunity to make some improvements and some nice things that we wanted to do for a while for the platform. So one of the main things right now is like standardizing and streamlining the layout and the components that we use everywhere. So with this new platform, we have very defined regions and components that you can use. And so this will help us when we're actually like building features or anyone wants to come in and like work on our platform. You have these very clearly like these really good patterns to follow. So for example, on like the assets page, we have a left sidebar, a right sidebar, and then you have the center content. This is something that will exist on any screen that you want, and it's very easy to actually build these composable layouts. So on top of that is the streamline the components that now instead of like overriding individual components, we have like a entire theme library that we're using, which is Chakra, and then we're just like customizing the theme. So you can just pull those components straight from Chakra. There's no like, is this been built before? Is there some weird one-off component? So it should be super easy to follow. On top of like all of the front end stuff, we've made some changes to like the UX. One of the biggest changes is bringing the trade out of its own page into a component that can live pretty much on any page. And it's all very like self-contained. So if I wanted to select an asset, it's all from this one component. Select it, we can enter the amounts. And then from there, I just hit confirm, and then I'm off to the races with my trade, which is all super nice. The other thing that we've been doing is removing the need for drawers. Those are still useful when the need arises. So like for UX thing, if something wants to, it needs to go off the screen or it's a lot of content, that's a good use case for a drawer. The other reason is if you want to see like the content on the screen while you're interacting with the drawer content. So send and receive is now on the asset level. It's inside of a modal, which is again kind of following the same pattern. It's all self-contained. So if like I want to send Bitcoin, but I'm like, oh wait, actually I want to send 0x, I just hit back and I can now send from here, and it's all self-contained. Very easy to follow, and there's not a lot of clutter. Receive is the same exact pattern. So another example of like using a drawer or when to use a drawer is this sidebar, which obviously is a ton of tokens in it. So if you were to collapse down on mobile, we now have this drawer, which makes a lot of sense, and you can easily switch assets from the drawer. Other than that, we're kind of just going through all of the existing features. It's not going to be crazy different from how the current platform works, but just making little tweaks and improvements and standardizing. I think, and there's also a light mode. Forgot about that.
Yeah,
For
I was going to ask.
all you crazy, insane people to like light.
Awesome. Thank you, Beard. I think we're going to jump in to Hoff's presentation next for branding. Hoff, do you have permissions to share? If not, I think Giant King can help out with that. Oh, yeah.
So, can you guys see my screen?
It's loading.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I think you're having the same issues I was having. Do you want to shoot it over to Beard and see if he can share?
Okay, yeah, Beer, I sent you an email a little bit ago.
Try to log out and log back in. You might have given you permission just now. Double check.
Let me try. Yeah, I don't know. Can you guys see my screen? Probably not.
Nope.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Okay, let me pull up my email. I actually haven't opened my email in a really long time. Oh no.
Yeah, it's like a sorry, it's like a keynote thing that I sent.
All right,
We can
anybody want to play
solve-
some Jeopardy music while I do this?
Yeah, I can start for you. I think it's cool to give some context around that new version of the web app you showed, and I think you gave some great context around it. But just to reiterate that this is the new version that the engineering team's been super focused on, and this version is going to be completely open source. So it's built to be open source, and like Beard said, it's really easy for other developers to come in there and add new features using the existing component library and do it in a way that's really easy to build and will match the brand standards and will be nice, clean code. So that's exciting. And also, it doesn't have any dependency on our current backend. So basically, it's a front end that anyone will be able to run, and we'll just talk directly to node providers. And I think you might even be able to just plug in any node eventually. If that's not a capability immediately, then that will likely be a capability we'll add. But this is like the first step, like Beard said, towards this new decentralized interface to the decentralized universe. So the engineers hard at work getting to this first milestone, and then Josh has a proposal up right now, requesting 200K Fox to fund bounties, so which will help bring more developers into the ecosystem and the repository, and it'll be our first kind of experiment to see how quickly we're able to build stuff with this new open source version.
Cool. I could just give a brief little TLTR. So I'm Hoff. I've been at Centralized Shapeshift for 3 years. And we're just kind of going to go through my first big project when I started working at Shapeshift was a rebrand. So we're going to kind of go through a little bit of our branding process and talk a little bit about our typographic and illustration methodologies and a little bit of our design philosophy. All right. So, brand background. All right, next slide, Beard. So, you can hit another spacebar, Beard. I think there's like an animation. Yeah. All right. So, why the fox? So, fox obviously is kind of a cornerstone of the Shapeshift brand. Foxes tend to be subtle. Flamboyance is not their style. They prefer to remain inconspicuous and choose wit over strength. In Celtic mythology, the fox is believed to be a guide and honored for its wisdoms. The Celts understood that fox knows his surroundings intimately, and they would rely upon the fox as their guide in the spirit world. In Finnish mythology, the fox is depicted as a cunning trickster, but seldom evil. The fox, while smaller, in the end outsmarts both the viscerious wolf, Wall Street, and the large and strong but not so cunning bear, which is government, that symbolizes the victory of intelligence and foresight over malevolence and brute strength. And some cultures, seeing multiple foxes is considered a bad omen, whereas seeing a single fox is good luck. So we usually only show one fox or one logo on our collateral. Next slide, please. So you guys probably recognize this logo. Still pops up a lot. I think Beard actually designed this years ago. This was the logo when I've started and worked with Eric to go through a rebranding process. So next slide. So we had this membership portal way back when we introduced KYC, and Justin, who works on the Portis team. I think he initially designed this original mark, but so we really liked the mark. So we kind of took this, we call it the Skelefox, and kind of cleaned it up and cleaned up the typography to make it a little more streamlined. And the screen here shows kind of the proportions and logo construction and ratio structure and showing how it exists in context. Next slide. So illustration style. You guys have probably seen this. It's kind of interesting. I don't think we were the first to really go full illustration, but you guys probably noticed like pretty much every crypto company has some sort of like kind of cool illustration style. More, and they don't really use like stock photography and everything. I don't think we're the first, but we definitely did it a while ago, like 3 years ago. And kind of the background behind it is the style is influenced by the Art Deco, Futurism, and Constructivism art movements. Those movements emphasize speed, technology, youth, as well as craft and beauty. Cars, trains, airplanes, industrial city were emphasized in these movements. And these movements also happen to influence a lot of literature, in particular the Futurists, which George Orwell, Ayn Rand, Huxley, and they believed in a decentralized future, and that's a nice subconscious tie to our Shapeshift brand. One key difference is that our style emphasizes nature rather than a city. We have some key pillars that we use moving forward: pioneering, guiding light, blazing trails. Those are themes that we want to achieve in our illustrations. They're also themes that we want to achieve in our organization. And, you know, with us going to DAO and all the recent news around Shapeshift, we're definitely, you know, encompassing these brand pillars. So we also, that really clean logo, it works really well with these kind of bright, vibrant, complex illustrations. So we usually only have a blue or white logo, and we kind of, it kind of works really nice with these illustrations. It kind of shows the juxtaposition of that style. Next slide. So over the past 3 years, I been doing all these illustrations for Shapeshift, and we encompass this pretty robust library of art. So we kind of have this illustration library. So we reuse a lot of these vector elements, and they allow us to create compelling, unique illustrations in a time-effective manner. These are all created in-house, so that we don't really have licensing fees or hard costs. So you can kind of see these like multiple elements, and I'll kind of walk through how a really brief way we create a new illustration. So next slide. So this is just kind of a basic kind of background. Next slide. So you can kind of see the components from the past screen, add in a background mountain, some birds, a little bit of foreground. Next slide. Add a little bit more foreground to it. Next slide. You can see kind of more trees and add like some other little elements like the fox and the boat. And so we can create these really unique landscapes that are meant to adhere to those pillars of, you know, foresight, pioneering, vision, like forging the river, like Oregon Trail style type of stuff. And that's kind of all, you know, aspects we try to achieve in our art. Next slide. So we don't use stock photography. One of the reasons why is, you know, with Eric and John and the rest of the crew, when we were doing this rebranding process, you know, crypto is anonymous. So we didn't want to have any sort of like people or, you know, faces of stock photography associated with our brand. So kind of keeping this like nature and naturalistic approach, it has a nice little tie to the whole crypto ethos as well. These are kind of funny. Vince Vaughn did a mocked some stock photography. So these crack me up every time I see them. Right, next slide. Brand colors. So we do have a lot of insight on the colors we choose. So we kind of created these names with the colors. So Midnight, going kind of with this dark forest theme. It's not quite black. It has a hint of blue. Makes it a little more unique than stark black. And we also use a lot of light, which is like pure white. So the midnight light creates this nice duality theme. And we do tones of each of those colors, which you can see there. And you'll notice a lot in the app, Borealis. We use that color mostly for our call to actions. Borealis is inspired by the Aurora Borealis, or the Northern Lights. And along with the North Star, it's an optimistic phenomenon that guides and lights the way, and that's kind of a cool little tie to our UX, where our call to actions are using those colors and it's kind of guiding the user through our product experience. Next slide. So design and context. We have this whole icon style, so just going to briefly kind of talk about where these come from. It's not just using some like Font Awesome or some sort of font library, but we intentionally use icons with soft corners. The purpose behind this, because it creates more friendly subconscious feel. Crypto can be scary and intimidating, so we didn't want to make our icons feel the same way. Being kind of mobile first in our UX and UI, we do a fill icon instead of outline icons. So it works really well on small sizes. So trying to incorporate UX and UI tendencies within our, design decisions has always been our approach in our design structure. The icon style, we kind of use the rule of third grid system. The rule of thirds is a design construct that simply states if you take the canvas and divide it into 3 equally sized horizontal sections and vertical sections, you get this kind of grid that provides a roadmap. This kind of acts as a guideline to create constraints for icons to make them look all same and familiar and from the same breath and in the same family. Next slide. Rainfall logo. This is just an example of one of our, we could, if in the DAO, if someone, has a proposal from a little like spin-off type, program for Shapeshift, it could be like this. So rainfall, how we created this little icon. We use the golden rectangle, which is a geometric concept found in many aspects of the natural world. It's evident in architecture, art, and pop culture, and it consists of proportions that have been long considered very pleasing and psychologically pleasing to the human eye. And so you can kind of see the icon construction of using this grid to create this little, we kind of called it kind of like a rain talk bubble. So it's like a raindrop plus a talk bubble because of the social component to rainfall. And then utilizing our typographic structure, you can see it with the full logo at the type. And being mobile first, we wanted a logo to really work on the app. So if you look at the app to the right, you'll see the icon in the bottom right, and it aligns with our icon structure that I talked about in the last slide. So next slide. So as a design team, our goal isn't to make things look beautiful. Our goal is to build an intuitive product with a beautiful experience. And we always kind of keep that pillar with everything that we do as a team. And next slide. And that's it. Thank you. Pass it back to Bethany.
Cool. So I just want to make sure we leave some time for Q&A. We have like 20 minutes left, so please feel free to ask any questions that you guys have. Somebody's still sharing their screen. I think Beard is still sharing.
Yeah, I was trying to get back to that QR code.
Oh, thank you.
Beard,
go ahead.
Oh, sorry, Beard. It's also on the title page of Diggy's presentation. Yeah, there you go.
I'm curious, kind of what tools you guys use. What is your stack in if somebody wanted to come and do some mock-ups, and the design team didn't have bandwidth to take it on, so we needed some extra resources, would they be able to get access to any of these mock-ups to build on top of them?
Yes, actually, that's a really good question, and thank you for asking that. So actually, Chow is in the process of setting up a public Notion. So in there, we will have links to all of the resources that we have. We've put up a bunch of stuff on Sketch Cloud, and something we're considering going forward is Figma, because it might be easier from a sharing perspective. So curious if anybody has any thoughts around Figma or has used it, please give us your insights. But yeah, everything will be in a public Notion, so they'll be accessible for everybody to access. Awesome. We also use InVision for prototyping, so there's opportunity there. Anybody can use InVision, I think, for free on their own, and then if there's any prototypes that we need to share with other people, we can always, just share the prototype that they're interested in.
Yeah, a lot of for like the logos and illustrations, I use the Adobe Creative Suite, so Illustrator, Photoshop, use After Effects for motion stuff as well. And Adobe is great too. It's it's on the cloud now, so you can, any people in the community, it's a pretty affordable monthly cost to get the design software to use.
As far as the new platform, the new open source platform, that component library is in flux. So as we get closer to a final version of it, we'll start producing probably a Figma component library. So it'll be easy for people to just go out and grab components as they want to build UIs for us.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
I guess I have a question springboarding off of that. So we've got two very different ideas we're talking about here. You're talking, this presentation has been a very traditional and well organized idea of a brand, and you're moving this in this direction of open source and decentralization, and we're talking about putting elements up for every random person to grab. So how do you, you're going to have to, like it or not, embrace the idea of open source and decentralization with regard to a brand? And I know this is a big question, and I don't expect you to have one definitive answer, but do you have any bite-sized thoughts on how to embrace decentralization with regard to a unified brand, and how to not have this get out of hand and turn into chaos?
Well, we do. It is, so when we did do the rebranding, we didn't call it brand standards. That's kind of an archaic approach to branding, where it's like IBM or something, like everything's set in stone. We kind of called it brand guidelines and brand evolution. So we have this document that we did share to the community that they can use as a guidelines, and we'll have these elements. But the beautiful thing with it is it's up to the token holders. So it's not like, everyone could design something, but it's us as a community to make sure it's living up to these brand standards, and it's gonna put Shapeshift in a successful position. So I mean, design by community and design by committee has never really worked that well from my experience. And this is all new, and it's a new world. So, there's going to be some learning lessons, growing pains, and ebb and flow. But, we're going to try to do the best we can. Hopefully.
Yeah. On top of that, sorry, I just wanted to say that one of our goals of the product workstream is to be that source that people can go to. So if there are side projects being worked on by external designers, somebody needs to make sure that they still kind of align with Shapeshift's brand, because obviously we don't want to sacrifice the usability and the brand. So our goal on the product workstream will be to help empower those designers with what they need, and also make sure that the designs are, I think, are approved by the product workstream before they move into development, and that they are passing usability as well.
Exactly.
That being said, if you come up with an electric pink UI and it's like dope as crap, I mean, I'm down for it. Yeah.
Exactly. You guys nailed it. I think, like Hoff said, they're guidelines and people are welcome to try new things out and stuff. But ultimately, I do think it's important, like Bethany said, for the product workstream to enforce the brand guidelines and make sure that the designs, like you said, Gray, aren't just all over the place. And ultimately, it's up to token holders to appoint the product workstream and make sure we have the best product workstream in place. But like Hoff said, design by committee and by community can be really tough. And so I think that we have a nice balance there where token holders can make sure we have the best product workstream in place and that they're well resourced, and the product workstream can enforce the brand guidelines, but ultimately anybody can try and evolve them, and we do want to leave the door open for creativity.
Does anybody else have any questions?
Back to the UX stuff. When you're doing your usability testing, and you talked about it sounds like when you're doing your usability testing, you're using people that, or the participants have been using Shapeshift application for quite a while. But then you also touched on people that are newcomers to DeFi and all that. Is there any usability testing that you're doing to people that are very new to this space versus seasoned like they're a seasoned Shapeshift user and we're experimenting or A/Bing a new feature, but are you trying to explore this journey of just your random, Uncle Bob or whatever, like trying to journey non-crypto users or novices into this space as well? I guess the overall question is 100% of your usability testing just existing Shapeshift users, or have you explored the option of newcomers to the crypto space in general?
It's both. We actually do a lot of testing, especially with our mobile app, because that's targeted at newer users, to people who are crypto curious or people who have identified that they have used a crypto app or two. So we do a lot of testing actually with newbies, especially sometimes these learn more sections that we have inside the app, like for the liquidity providing, that copy that's there specifically inside Learn More went through multiple rounds with people who are new to the crypto space, because our thought was that if we can get those people to understand what providing liquidity means at a high level, then we've succeeded, and that our more advanced users would already know what providing liquidity is. So yes, in answer to your question. Also, if anybody here is interested in participating in any of the usability tests that we have going forward, would love that. We're always looking for existing users. They're actually harder to find than you may think. We have a much easier time utilizing some of these platforms that have tons of users, and then just putting up screener questions for them. So we've done a lot with our own users, and we've generally tried to provide Fox tokens as a reward for them participating. So if anybody's interested, we'd be happy to have you help. Thank you. And that was a really good question.
That's related to the last one. What's the sort of intellectual pipeline you're using to bring new people into the space? So when someone decides, hey, I want to start learning crypto, right? They don't just need, an app that has that usability testing. They also need to sort of move from stage to stage of, okay, here's what it is, here's how I use it, and then moving to the next concept. You understand what I'm saying?
You want to talk about Pendo, Bethany?
Yeah, Pendo. So actually, one of the tools that we're looking at to help with this, because this is something that we've really been wanting to do, is to help our users, especially the newer users that are on this journey for the first time, be guided through our products. And we even have a lot of mock-ups around this, and a lot of stuff that's been tested and ready to go, but not built. So we're actually looking at this tool called Pendo, which really helps with onboarding new users, user retention, new feature discovery. It'll also give us a really easy resource center, and it'll help us with segmentation and guided journeys. So we're really excited to bring that proposal forward, and that's definitely something that will help with that. But yes, we are not right now at a point where, for example, we're not competing with a Coinbase with all of their massive resources for new users. And that historically hasn't also necessarily been our focus as well. So, but if we want to become a starting point for a lot of these new users of crypto, some of these pieces that we want to get in place that Pendo will help us with will really help move that forward and help us be stronger in onboarding new users into the crypto journey.
Well, I'm not familiar with Coinbase and what they're doing, but I do think it's important that we have something to point new users to say, hey, you want to get involved, here's sort of this base of knowledge you need to use our platform.
Absolutely.
So it sounds like what you're saying is we don't have that set up yet, but we're working on it, and we will.
Yes.
LPX also has a proposal for that, kind of like an information portal that takes all the different information we have, including 101 stuff, as well as Shapeshift information and the help desk and the information around the DAO and the governance process, and brings it all into one place, and also is translated into multiple languages. So have you seen that proposal yet, Seth?
No, I haven't. But
it's active for voting right now, so check it out. And that might have a lot of what you're looking for. And then also to Bethany's point, to Diggy's point, the Pendo will be a great tool, I think, for helping guide new users, whatever their experience level is. That's kind of the cool thing about it, is that if you're an advanced user, you don't have to go through mandatory onboarding tooltips that take 10 minutes. But if you are a new user, you can really easily get more information around things as simple as how to send and receive crypto, if you don't know how to do that. Which we have seen in our user tests. To Gray Machine's point, I remember there's a user test we did where this lady kept pasting her home address in to the address field where she should have been pasting an Ethereum address, and she couldn't figure out why it was an invalid address. She's like messing with the zip code and everything like that for seriously like 20 minutes trying to figure it out. So for people like that, Pendo will give us the ability to have kind of self-guided tooltip things that actually are overlaid over our UI, so we can explain. And we have mockups for this, and we're just now getting a tool where we can implement it without any code too. That's one cool thing about Pendo, is that the UX team is empowered to kind of create these really nice flows. So I think a combo of that in the UI, as well as this nice information portal that LPX is proposing, will be a really great improvement with giving users education.
Well, I do think that because we're a DAO, we also have the opportunity for sort of community created education on this subject. So I don't think it necessarily needs to be the case that the Shapeshift employees do this for everybody. I can see some of that because they're building the new features.
Oh,
right.
I'm
So
not
obviously
employee.
they're. Huh?
I'm not a employee.
Okay, but what I'm saying is the UX team builds new features, and the features they're building, it's natural to assume that they need to sort of show the rest of us how that works. So I think for some things, having things done officially is necessary. But I think there's also an aspect of community that we have access to.
Yeah.
So not everything
that
needs to
everyone
be.
in the community will be involved in developing these features, because we're going to be sharing this, in public channels. So I think what you're saying is right on. I think the community can absolutely help write documentation and guides on these new features as we create them as a community. So I think that's a great idea, I think.
Right, but I think what's missing right now is I don't see a clear list of, hey, what do people need to be educated on, right? Because if it's abundantly clear what's sort of what people are struggling with, then it's much easier to say, hey, we could use some help building documentation on how X works.
I'm actually I kind of started like making like a list of frequently asked questions. It's not ready yet, obviously.
Okay.
Well, we'll have to pass first of all the proposal, and if you read the proposal, we do want to we want to coordinate with the marketing team to actually get the whole DAO involved, within like making of new documents or especially translating to.
All right, sounds great. I think that's it seems to me that you guys have a good grasp on what I'm asking about, and I'm satisfied with the answer. So awesome.
To add to that, it is a bit of a catch-22. It's hard to move forward making learning materials until you have the baseline data to work from. Like the hard line, everybody kind of assumes like, well, just say this, and then when you get three people in a room and then they all start arguing, not arguing, but like disagreeing over what the fundamental 3 points are that we need to express to say how to get somebody to withdraw from TipCC or whatever, right? So getting the data, getting that sort of info doc, the central hub of information is a huge first step in this. And then like LPX is saying, sort of doing a deep dive in terms of those pain points of where people are just getting stuck, and then we can focus on those, because the proposal also is adding some additional video and animation content is going to focus on those areas that are those pain points to kind of educate people. So we've got two different things going on. We've got this hub of information, and we can draw on that, and then we can make more informative stuff that we can share to social media or share into Discord. So we got two different things going on, but a good starting point is to have that baseline material to draw from so that we can make the educational material.
I was actually hoping, sorry, I'm gonna jump in. Chow, if you could say, like, so LPX and Chow are both working on documentation things. Notion came up in an engineering meeting today. So I actually think they can live alongside each other, like more, especially the translation first that LPX is proposing is kind of needs to be built for that. But like, especially like engineering documentation and marketing probably as well, I think is great in like working, living, functioning documents is great for Notion. Have you looked at that at all, Chow? Like, I'm happy to help more. I think we talked about it a couple days ago.
A little bit earlier today, but yep, that was gonna be on my to-do list this afternoon. Yeah, and I talked a little bit to engineering about it, and to your point, I think we do need a place to have some living documents for different teams and whatnot, and where we can have some design pieces for the UX UI design team. And I know also some of us on product are going to be moving some things over to the public Notion as well. And I think support will also put some things in there when the time comes.
Great, cool. Yeah, and I think like LPXs could be more of like formal,
Mm-hmm.
This is how you do X, Y, Z, and it doesn't really change, but like, yeah,
yes,
we're developing this product and need to collaborate it in real time. That's where Notion's like what it's for, So cool. I'm glad to hear it. And like I said, I'm just willing to help if you need anything else there.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, we have a couple more minutes. Does anybody else have any other questions?
Are you in charge of the discourse theme or template, whatever, the forum, or is that a different work stream?
That's a good question. I think discourse right now, the forum, I think Hoff and Willie worked on that together. But going forward, yeah, I would assume that'll probably lie on the product work stream.
Also, Beard was part of that crew.
Cool. Oh yeah, yes, you're right.
Are you seeing some issues with it we need to fix, or?
Yeah, and I mean there's some pretty cool plugins as well. I'm not saying to go all out and install every plugin. I hate that, but I think it'd be pretty cool if you open source at least the theme. I don't know. That's just my thought.
Okay. Yeah, I have a repo. I can put that up.
It could be like a future, proposal or something if you want to redo that. I don't think that would be anything weird.
Yeah, we're open to hearing any cool plugins you think we should add.
Cool. Well, if nobody else has any questions, just thank you again for joining. You're also welcome to DM us directly if there's anything else you want to follow up on. And then if anybody's interested in joining the product work stream, please get in touch with Chow. And yeah, thank you so much for your time, everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, guys.
Great info. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Boxes.